You know, this is what keeps me up at night. So, let's talk about Keira Knightley for a second. Who doesn't love Keira Knightley? Pride and Prejudice, last man I could be ever prevailed upon to marry. You know, those are the words of a gentleman. Who doesn't love her? And I don't know if you're aware, but she has a child. Good for her. That's wonderful. And about 2 years ago, I know, I'm a little bit late to the party. 2 years ago, she was on some talk show or whatever, I think it was Ellen, and she was asked about her daughter. And Ellen asked her about certain movies she doesn't want her daughter seeing. She named two. One of them was The Little Mermaid, and yeah, that movie is iffy. The whole message is see a guy once, sell out your voice and your family because he's hot. It's literally the whole reason for that. He's very animated, wise, he's attractive. Whatever. I agree with that decision. The other movie, though, was Cinderella. I'm assuming she meant the original cartoon. She didn't specify, but we're gonna go with that. And what was her reasoning for banning this from her daughter's viewing habits? Don't wait around for a rich man to rescue you. Rescue yourself. Just give me a second. Ah! I'm back. Okay. Okay, we're gonna attack this statement from a few angles. First of all, we're gonna start with the plot of Cinderella. You all know the basic plot, right? Cinderella, Ella, is technically her name. She has a dad, and she has a mom. Her mom dies. Her dad waits a little bit, and then he remarries a lady who has 2 daughters. He dies and leaves Cinderella, Ella, with the stepmother and the stepsisters. And they treat her gosh awfully. Eventually she has enough, is crying, meets a fairy godmother, gets to go to a ball. This is the Cliff Notes version. Meets a prince, fall in love. That's like the briefest version. Get married. Briefest version. Now let's go a little bit more detailed here. As I mentioned earlier, her father and her mother are dead. She lives with her stepmother and her stepsisters in 1700s, 1800s, that era. Where the heck could Cinderella go? Okay? She is an orphan. She has no money and no prospects. She's a teenager. Do you know how few opportunities existed for women back then in terms of occupation? Okay, her stepmother and stepsisters may have been terrible, forcing her to live like a servant in her own home, but at least she had a bed to sleep in every night, a roof over her head, and food to eat. She decided to stay because if she had gone anywhere else, well, not to get too graphic, but she'd probably end up on the streets and, working in the world's oldest, fanciest, smallest, oldest is that one. Oldest profession. And I don't want to give you that image, but it's a depressing one. So she chooses to stay. And every day she wakes up and chooses to be positive. Every day she wakes up and chooses to be kind despite her circumstances. And then she hears about a ball. And she's like, oh, that'd be fun to go to with the only family I have left despite the way they treat me. And they tell her she can go if she gets all her chores done. She gets all her chores done. She makes a really pretty dress with the help of her mice friends and her bird friends. What happens? Her stepmother and stepsisters destroy the dress. I would be upset too. It's not stupid of her to cry over getting a dress destroyed that she worked hard on and not get to go and have one night off with the way that her life is. It's not that she wanted to go meet the prince and get him to fall in love with her. She just wanted a night off. She wasn't waiting for a prince to rescue her. She wasn't waiting for that. Or whatever. Fairy godmother shows up. She goes to the ball. And they fall in love. She and the prince. That's beautiful. And you know why? Because she's kind. He's drawn to her kindness, her goodness. Watch the live action version, it's a little bit more specifically said because the prince is actually a character. That should be Keira Knightley's real problem with that movie. Men are just there to be married. So, glass slipper, midnight, runs off. Prince is looking everywhere for her, as we know. He's in love. He wants to find her. Everyone's trying on the slipper. The stepmother figures out that it's Cinderella, locks her away, tries to get the prince to think it's one of her biological daughters. It is not. Cinderella breaks out with the help of her mice friends, who once again care about her because she was kind to them and treated them with respect when nobody else did. And what does the stepmother do? She breaks the glass slipper, destroys it. But what does Cinderella do? She goes, oh no, it's all right. I have the other one. Rescuing herself in that moment, thank you very much, tries on the slipper and gets to marry the prince. Okay, the message of this is not, if you wait around long enough, eventually a prince with poor eyesight will fall in love with you. No, the message of this is be kind and it will come back to you. Every day, Cinderella chose to be kind. The message of the live action one, have courage and be kind. And it was accounted to her for righteousness. Bible quote. She chose every day to think that life was going to get better. Every day. She wasn't thinking about getting married. She wasn't worrying about that. She was just thinking every day something will get better. Every day she woke up and she said, one day my dreams will come true and I will be free from here. But until then, I'm going to choose to be content. She knows others probably have it worse. They treat her as well as they are able, as she says in the live action version, and she chooses to find the silver lining. Cinderella is a message of courage and kindness despite circumstances. It's the message that no, not money saves you, not some random rich guy saves you, love saves you. That is the message. She meets him and she is free because now she is loved and she gets to go have a wonderful life. She had no options before then. Zilch, nada, zero. She meets the prince, they fall in love, and then she has a significantly better option. The message isn't wait around to be rescued by a rich man. And also, the whole rescue yourself message, say that to victims of abuse who were rescued. You're going to say to them, oh, yeah, you should have rescued yourself. You shouldn't have waited for somebody else to rescue you. No, there's nothing wrong with being saved anyway. People need people, right? It's safe to assume that includes men and women. So men and women need each other too, right? So maybe one time a woman could need a man in a story. What is so wrong with that? Cinderella is not a story of anti-womenness or whatever you want to call it. It is a story of love and of love persevering and of kindness and courage conquering all. It's an excellent story and an amazing movie. Both versions. I haven't watched the old one in a long time. This is off the top. Just, if people stop saying stuff like this, I'd sleep better at night. Well, think on that, Hollywood.